Okay, people. So I decided to give the subtle art of not giving a fuck a look. See, right? It's a yes, hmm, I don't know, man. Like I'd say, I feel it's a documentary type of thing. It's not really a film, you know, but it's an adaptation of Mark Manson's book of the same name. Okay, so it is directed by Nathan Price, written by Tom Blackwell and Matthew Metcalfe. The film is produced by Matthew Metcalfe, executive produced by Peter Touche, Helen Parker, Johnny Fewings, um, Christelle Conan, and Fraser Brown. It is line produced by Mark Foster and co-produced by Norman Merry. Carl Solve Stevens handles the music. Maria Ins Manchego cinematography. Wetham Alpress edits the piece. Kate McGill is on casting. Joseph Leary, production design. Set decoration is Daniel Burt. Makeup is Carl Cameron, Janine Sissy, and Tracy Henton. And Mark Manson narrates the whole thing. Okay, so it's basic. This is what it says, right? This is the little synopsis of the film. So it says it explores society's obsessions with the ugh. Okay, let's start again. The film will explore society's obsession with the pursuit of happiness and will be presented by Mark Manson alongside Disappointment Panda, a character from the book whose superpower is to tell people the harsh truth. All right, which doesn't really tell you a lot. So here is the summary of the book. The subtle art of not giving a fuck argues that individuals should seek to find meaning through what they find to be important and only engage in values that can control. Values such as popularity that are not under a person's control are, according to the book, bad values. Furthermore, individuals should strive to replace these uncontrollable values with things they have the capability to change, such as punctuality, honesty, or kindness. Manson further cautions against claiming certainty about knowledge that is out of one's grasp, especially in the case of attempting to leave a legacy. Meaning can be found, Manson claims, when one seeks to create joy in the moment for oneself and those around, as opposed to being concerned with building a body of work as a legacy. Which is funny because he's written several books. So, in fact, he's leaving a legacy. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, like this is in the realm of self-help, right? And yeah, I'm not a big fan of self-help shit, right? Just because I find, right, that it is creating something that has worked for one person, right? It's a template that worked for one person, and you're basically just telling people, oh yes, if you do all of these things, it will work for you too. Which no, because everyone's situation is different, right? You know what I mean? You might have certain similarities, but there's things that are different. So you know what I mean, what works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for everyone, but it's always couched in the vein of this will work for you. It worked for me, right? This made me money. This made me happy. This found me a partner. This blah, 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 right? That's the thing, man. And that's kind of in this. It's kind of in this, I felt, right? There was definitely some things that I was like, I don't know if that's true, right? I don't know if that's true. Now, we open up, right? There's some sort of house party happening. Then something's happened as well. So there's paramedics and police rushing through, and someone's on the floor. And then we pan out, and Manson is sitting in a pool on a Lido, right? Not actually in the water itself. He's sitting on one of those floaty things. Is it a Lido? A floaty, pooly thing, right? He's there, and around him are a load of synchronized swimmers. I mean, I didn't really understand the need for that. Now, maybe it's a metaphor for something. I have no fucking clue. I don't even know, right? But yeah, I was just a bit like, eh, you know what I mean? Now, there was a lot of stuff happening in the film visually, which again, I didn't really feel it added anything, Like we've got him sitting behind a desk, right? He's in a biggish room. There's all stuff all over the place. It's kind of, controlled clutter. He's in like a black t-shirt. You know what I mean? It's a very cultivated look. You know what I mean? Trying to be all mad cash, but it's orchestrated. And the camera angle is changing constantly, but it's basically he behind a desk talking to someone. And it's just like narrating these points, giving examples of his life, which supposedly is in the book, right? He's using life experiences to go, look, this happened to me. This is what I learned from that, which, boom, is helpful for people for sure. And maybe it works better in a book because a book, there's no, you know what I mean? This is like about an hour and 40 minutes, you know what I mean? So you're trying to cram everything into that. Where a book, you've got more room to breathe. So maybe the book was like, yo, that's some gold. In the film version, I really think because, right, he was talking about him at 13 being caught at school with mad drugs. Now, here's the thing, right? Because he's like, oh yeah, and I got caught and I had to tell my parents, and that changed my life. And 3 months later, my parents got divorced, and all of this bad stuff happened. And I'm just like, yeah, but you know what I mean? Because he created a pocket at the back of his rucksack, right? So he knew selling drugs not a good thing. Well, here's the thing. We don't know if he was selling the drugs or if these were kind of just for his consumption, right? There was no real, he didn't elaborate on how much drugs was in the bag. Just there were drugs in the bag, Which, yeah, and listen, you might be a kid, but there's things you do know. And at 13, I knew drugs. If I was bringing drugs into school, my ass is getting in trouble. You know what I mean? And especially when you think about when Homie was born, right? As he's born later. Yeah, how old is this motherfucker? He was born in 84, right? So especially when you think of when, you know what I mean, he's at school, right? He's 39. So, like, there's, yeah, there's more information about drugs and, you know, this is bad. So, you know, at 13 that that's not a good look. You shouldn't be doing that shit. So, but like, there's no culpability, right? There was a lot, there's things like this and going, oh, yeah, and it was tough for me. But yeah, but you knew. Come on, son. Like, you knew. You know what I mean? And, you know, we jump around a lot. Jump around a lot. And so there's a bit where he's like, oh, I was cheating on all girlfriends. I wasn't really caring about people. But then he's just like, oh, this girl cheated on me and I was crushed and blah, blah, blah. So it's just like, wait, did this happen before or after you were cheating on everyone? You know what I mean? Because if it happened after, I don't really give a fuck. You know what I mean? And just because someone cheats on you doesn't mean you be a dick to everyone else, right? But there's this, there wasn't a, yeah, you know what? I was doing this at the time. I didn't really care. I didn't care. But now, yeah, that wasn't the best way to live. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to resonate with this dude, right? To resonate with what homie is saying because it feels like a whole heap of stupidness. You know what I mean? Like, he had a rule. And here's the thing, right? Because it's just like, listen, oh, you shouldn't be doing things. You shouldn't be, you know what I mean, trying to please others, or you shouldn't be like chasing these things. And then he's like, well, I wanted to create a rule because everyone else had rules named after them, and I wanted a rule. So I created the Manson rule, which, to be honest, it's nothing new, right? It's just stuff that you've heard millions of times couched in a slightly different way, which, you know, essentially a load of the stuff he talks about, it's not new. And which is the whole thing with self-help books, right? They're not creating anything like, yo, I never heard that before. It's all stuff you know, right? It's all stuff you've heard, but, you know, they kind of frame it slightly differently. There was one thing that I thought was really, it just, I think the point you can't really make in such a broad stroke, because he talked about, um shit, I cannot remember homie's name, but there's a dude. He was one of the founders of Metallica, got kicked out, and he started Megadeth, right? And he was like, oh yeah, and for his whole career, he wanted to try and beat Metallica, but Megadeth could never beat Metallica. And, you know, he focused on the wrong thing. And if he hadn't have done that, he would have been happier. Now, Homie was on Rogan's podcast, right? Talking about everything and all of this. And, you know, I think he owns everything he's done and all of that. You know, it was never a pity party or anything like that. But here's the thing. If he hadn't have been, I want Megadeth to be bigger than Metallica, would Megadeth have been as good? Right? This is it, right? Sometimes people need different things to fuel what they want to achieve, right? To be that spark. So to say everyone should think like this doesn't always work, right? Some people need that nemesis, hearing that thing to chase, because that's the thing that spurs them to achieve even more. So when he was talking about this dude and going, yeah, he shouldn't have been doing that, I was like, nah, I wouldn't say that. Right? Now, hope, like what you would think and hope that when someone is going, look, I want to be better than this, that even with that pursuit, they are still appreciating the successes and achievements along the way, right? That's the only thing that you want, right? Someone not to kind of dismiss everything because the only thing to them is this. That's the only thing I would say with that, right? And he was like, self-esteem, it's a bad thing, right? Because everyone's about self-esteem. Again, nothing wrong with self-esteem. Now, participation trophies, yes, you can say they're trash because, you know, not everyone's a fucking winner. And knowing you just missed out, right? You just missed out on a medal. You missed out on bronze. It can spur you to try harder next time, right? And you might not be the top three in this thing, but it doesn't mean you're not going to be top three in something else, right? But I think it's good to have certain benchmarks, right? Because if everyone's, yeah, I do believe if everyone thinks, oh yeah, everyone can achieve everything, it's just like, no, you can't. You can't. And it sets weird boundaries and parameters for people. So certain things are definitely for sure. You know what I mean? We need to think about, but yeah, I wasn't quite sure about this. Manson isn't a bad narrator. I will say that. I'll say that. I just felt the weird imagery used, and the jumbled nature of the timelines doesn't necessarily help with the engagement of the documentary. But if you are a fan of self-help, right? If this is your jam, then I'm sure this will work for you. If you really enjoyed the book, then yeah, this might work for you. It's on Netflix. You can get it on Apple, Prime in the States. You know what I mean? So yeah, The Soul Art of Not Giving a Fuck is out, and consume it if you